Okay, well let's get started. So today, what are we talking about today? Well, SOS Online Backup is really excited to announce our new ServerSave product and ServerSave partner program. ServerSave is a new product that we're releasing that specifically speaks to server backup needs. So those of you who are existing partners, so Michael, Kevin, Stone, Robert, and some others, Sam, good to see you. Previously, you had to use some type of third-party system to create image-based backups, and then use the SOS system to take those images off-site. Well, today we're announcing that we now have this included, along with some other good stuff. So first, we're going to be going through a basic run-through of SOS, the history of SOS, where we've come from, where we've been, where we're going. Then we're going to go into ServerSave. What is ServerSave specifically? What does it mean to you as a partner and the new partner program? And then what does this mean to your customers, and how is this going to really help them out? Features and benefits of ServerSave, of course, and also the competitive landscape. So those of you who are familiar with SOS at a file and folder backup program, we're changing who we're competing with now. So we're adding some competitors, and it's good. The new market position of SOS ServerSave, and essentially yourselves, how do you position this suite of services to your customers? And then we'll go through a product tour, and we'll show you what it looks like from the back end administratively, all the way through the actual product itself, running a backup and a recovery. And we'll end with open Q&A. After the product tour, I'll give out the Kindle code, and then the Kindle code will be available, or you give that to the partner specialist, and then the partner specialist will enter you into a Kindle drawing, and the winner will be announced next week. So we still have a person saying they are having trouble with the audio. So hold on a minute. Mike asks, the Kindle Fire? Sorry, not the Kindle Fire, just the regular Kindle. All right, well, hopefully you come into the next, well, hopefully you guys come into this program and then you buy yourself a Kindle Fire, right? Not whopping $200. Okay. So sorry to those of you who are having some audio issues. We'll make sure that we can get through it, but let's go ahead and get started. So SOS, where have we come from and where have we go? Well, SOS was founded in 2001 in Melbourne, Australia, and we had rather humble beginnings. Just a file and folder program, and the customer base at the very beginning were just really specific businesses. As most startups, as most technology startups, we were founded in a dorm room. So the beginnings up until 2005, 2006 were rather humble. Wasn't really a huge launch to market. It wasn't until 2005, 2006 that it really got picked up and turned into a formal, properly run organization. And that's when we launched our international operation into the United States specifically. So 2006, we opened up our operation primarily dealing with large retail partners, companies like WebRoot and Bitdefender, and we had some direct sales on a website, and then we had a affiliate program. Through 2007, we opened up our LA office. Or 2006, 2007, we opened up our LA sales office, which is where we're now headquartered. The change came when we launched this partner program. So what we were looking at was this very strategic relationship with our OEM partners, but they were so development heavy that we couldn't really scale it to the mid-market. So it was really just large retailers or light affiliate programs, where we didn't really know too much about the partners and didn't have a lot of hand holding and getting to market, understanding what you need, the business requirements, all that. So in 2008, we went to work planning out our our white label wholesale program that we have today. In mid-2009, we launched. And the growth was so rapid immediately from its inception that within the year, we had already relocated our headquarters from Melbourne, Australia to here in Los Angeles, California. And we more than tripled our partner membership inside of that year. And with the addition of ServerSave, we've already 5x'd our partner sign-up. So it's really been a good program to have what we have now. ServerSave changes the program dramatically because it changes what our offering does. What we were doing before was a file and folder backup program, so flat file systems. It wasn't for creating images, wasn't for packaging databases. So if you had non-flat information, you had to get some type of third party to put it together for us, and then we would take that backup off-site. Now that doesn't change the strategy in backup at all. It just means that you had an additional vendor to have to work with. Well, now we're coming out of the file and folder only stage, and we're adding this capability, which we'll go into in more detail. But more specifically, and what's really exciting is the market itself when it comes to cloud backup services. Over the last 3 to 4 years, we've had a 33% growth year over year. Big market, really healthy growth rate. Everyone loves that. But that was really geared towards the early adopters, primarily consumers and micro businesses. So innovators, of course, just to define these terms, those are the people who are camping outside of Apple to get the latest iPhone 4S, or buying new hardware, or getting the latest software, even if it's not market proven or market ready, just to have the latest and greatest. Those of you who volunteer for all the beta tests you possibly can, etc. In 2007, we really started to see an uptake in the early adopters. So those people who have low risks to move to these things. Also because infrastructure became available to people. So prior to 2007, 2006, internet access wasn't as widely available to places, the further away you get from a major city. So now that's changed. It's not really an issue anymore. Now the infrastructure is there. So the early adopters are those who really have low costs of moving to a new service. So consumers, micro businesses, those who didn't have to cancel any pre-existing relationship, didn't have to wait for some other system to expire, or just went through a big system uptake. Those who have a low risk of moving, so low cost, maybe they have a small data set, whatever the case may be. The IDC recently finished a survey that showed that only 16% of the SMB market is currently employing some type of online backup program. So what they're looking at is we're just now getting into this early majority stage. So the number of SMBs who are now comfortable with the security levels, they're familiar with cloud-based backup, and they know they need to move to it, is growing dramatically. So only 16% had some sort of backup, and 3/4 of those were at a limited scope. So what they did implement in cloud backup services was still just a level 2 type evaluation, meaning they're going to be looking for a larger implementation of cloud backup services in the next year. The remainder of those who didn't have something currently in place at any scope said that they were currently or about to begin evaluating and planned on moving to a cloud-based backup strategy or strategies in the next 2 or 3 years. So we're looking at a huge growth because we're really on the precipice of a market opening up to us. SMBs are typically slow moving to new technology because they have greater risk in that they have less flexibility to move to something that hasn't been market proven. So now that we have the early adopters who have really kicked these services around, we're now seeing the early majority come into play because the infrastructure is available, the price is right, the functionality is right, and the security is proven. So what the IDC has been marking as a 3 to 5x growth over the next few years has been discussed as really low end and really limited in what they're looking at in terms of the growth of this market. So, of course, we're looking at a market where the number of SMBs adopting these types of services is going to grow. Terrific. Everyone kind of knew that was happening. One of the other things that we're looking at is the scope of implementation of these types of services is going to grow per business. So that means an exponential growth on top of just adoption rates. So adoption and then implementation scope. So now we're looking at an average business, instead of spending, just for numbers' sake, $10 per month per user for cloud backup services, maybe now it's going to be closer to $50 per month per user. And that's just for example figures, but that's what we're looking at. A typical scope that we see during an evaluation period would be for a single workstation, single user, maybe one file server, and the next step would be getting it on all the business's workstations, all the business's servers. So we're really looking at dramatic growth even within those SMBs who have already adopted some sort of online backup. Good question about HIPAA. What about it? Well, we are HIPAA compliant. We specialize in security and in high security needs clients. So that's one of the biggest reasons why SOS has been continually boasted as the best in backup, is because we don't sacrifice security for usability. So it's still a very simple service and still very secure. Whereas a lot of the services out there, you can't have, they didn't develop it to have it both ways. Right, and Michael brings up a good point. Doctors now under the CCHIT certification are mandated by law that they have to have an offsite backup. And that's for healthcare companies or doctors' offices that are operating with a 60% revenue source from healthcare. So you have a legal mandate, and it's actually defined if you go to cchit.org. That's the website you want to pay attention to if you're paying attention to the medical industry. And by 2014, if they don't satisfy CCHIT regulations, they're going to be fined. So everyone needs to be CCHIT certified. That certification requires offsite backup, or they have to spend more money. So it's just money waiting to be made. So go out there to your doctor's offices. We're in the height of cold and flu season, so when you're there, go for it. Again, the website is cchit.org, and we can go into that at the end a little bit. So back to what we're looking at. So the growth that we're looking at is 3 to 5x if you're just talking about the service itself, so the cost of the backup service. But there's a really good quote here that I'll read that really explains why this is still a really low estimate of the growth we're going to see over the next few years. So the quote is, "The data speaks to an untapped opportunity for offerings beyond data backup and recovery, such as continuity services." And it keeps going on. But the basis of this is that we're really piggybacking on the managed service market. So the expansion of managed services instead of a break-fix relationship with your customers means that the market that online backup is already involved in is already at a tremendous growth rate. So it's just so new that there aren't good figures behind it, and we'll have to wait for another year before surveys can complete and see how this has changed. Most of you and most of our partners are currently in the swing from purely break-fix to a mix of managed service offerings and break-fix, with the eventual end goal of being just a managed service shop. Managed services meaning you have regular recurring billing cycles with your customers for a package of services that you define, rather than you just making money and billing the customer for hours worked. A couple of requests to go a little bit through the HIPAA website and the CCHIT certification stuff. We can bring that up in a little bit, but we don't want to focus on what we're having here, and that's only one industry that we can talk about.